Oh, yeah, my try to be the stupid.
I put one on every table.
Oh, probably.
If you're talking about that, then-
Problem. Do one of the.
It's gonna be half a mile from my house. The battery in my
Computer, I was like.
That's not runner, kind of that far away, that's.
Just put photos on it, they're across the street.
I don't know. Yeah, it can, especially if they keep equipment.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I was talking to people down there in Ohio that. They,
Oh, yeah.
so, probably use all of the information. I use a whole form, first of the day.
Wow. Yeah, it wasn't,
Oh, where'd it go?
Jason stepped down.
Yeah, and then there was some.
We lost our. Let's put out a prayer.
Well.
Roy suggested that. They just want to learn.
And I'm sure you know, Hurricane Helene in North Carolina.
Yeah.
You've been working your butt off, huh?
No, I haven't been working my butt off for that, but I'm just saying. Yeah. So, something where it comes through.
Patients up here.
Some of them, Heidi and Carolyn, two major, they want to pretty well. So. They'll phone go out, and internet goes out, or it goes out, they got no way, get a hold of anybody except for the.
Most of those.
Yeah, well, they're eating, well, I don't know. What you need, so. That was to get a word out of it. I got a program out of that.
We're still at 66 pages, right?
I can- I got a phone about. I can send a message down.
Yep.
Something else, send it out there. What do you know? Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, I'll go from my computer to my radio, over to the ID radio. And that goes from there
It's all right.
to another radio.
Sure. We can write.
And then on the word.
If it's in the text, that's.
Clock's on.
Bring the computers at 7.
What's that?
7 o'clock.
Mine hasn't turned yet. Yours turned to 7.
Mhm.
That's 59. So.
Oh.
That's a long minute. Okay, it's 7 o'clock. We're gonna call the meeting to order. Pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Jason.
Here.
R is absent. Ben's here. Mary?
Here.
Mary's here. Gary? Gary's here. Item number D, agenda, approval of the agenda. Is there any changes someone wants to make to add or delete something?
Ken, I'm sorry, I didn't think about this when the agenda was being created. It just kind of dawned on me today. I believe this is the third month with having Laura here and we had approved her being at our meetings for 3 months, do we need to discuss renewing that or I don't know if that's something we should discuss and determine tonight or not.
Oh, we can add that to the agenda. I think everyone wants her to continue, correct?
I don't know.
We'll add that to the
We would need
agenda.
to vote to continue the funding for that, I think.
We'll make that I6 and
Would that be new business or not? Is it
Pardon?
unfinished business or new business?
it'd be unfinished business, just continuing something that we've already started. I get a motion to approve the agenda with the addition of continuing with the attorney.
I'll make, Gary made it, I'll second it.
Gary made the motion, Mary seconded. All in favor, say aye. Ayes. Any nays? Ayes carried. Consent agenda. On the consent agenda, we have the meeting minutes from the March,
Public comment.
did I go over that?
Public
Yes.
comment.
I got Harry's here to talk to us about, our dump. Is that what it was? Go ahead.
Okay, I'm Callie Marshall from the Van Buren Conservation District. So I think we're hoping to continue on with the year-round hires at the transfer station. So I think that is the MOU. Just a refresher from last year for the 2025 scrap tire collection year. And then I also brought along our 2025 food farm and fun guides. So these are your local listings of farm stands, local green spaces, other producers in the area, festivals, all kinds of things, all Van Buren. So I can leave those on the table at the end of the meeting to pick up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Karen?
Yes, Supervisor Spicer's planning commission report states that the PC recommended both ordinances for renewable energy for board approval. But that process does dictate that it goes to the county first. And it looks like in this case, the ZA was allowed to submit the packages to the county per your report. But previously, you opposed that pathway in July. So maybe you want to explain that. Maybe because it just makes more practical sense in the first place, I would think. I don't think that Mr. Spicer's description of the condition for Journey to the Well matches what the ZA submitted in tonight's package for the condition. It was approved conditionally, and it looked like what you had in your report wasn't exactly what Tasha had, but you'll get to that when you guys get there. In the supervisor's report, part 3, Spicer seems to be mixing workable with Creo ordinances, the sentence you had in your report. So I'm hoping that Foster Swift can distinguish differences between the two again for the public and report on status of the suit against the state. And your part 3 did explain how you determined the overlay district. And I'm also wondering if a public meeting has been scheduled yet for Vesper Energy. Regarding new contracts, employment, or appointments, I generally favor advertising the opening first and then at least some interview discussion before making decisions, especially when the full board is not present. In the clerk's report, I saw they mentioned the ARPA reporting may not be quite compliant. In Kara's absence, I would just like to stress that she was not at fault at all. This happened before her. And I recall Clerk Case initiating the ARPA filings and committing to closing ARPA out before her departure. I did leave behind some files to aid the process for you guys. I give the payroll team credit for implementing the new Earned Sick Time Act. I heard from Becca that BSNA is working on something to aid in tracking hours worked for this benefit for W-2 employees. And I noticed, some comments in the margin of what's in the packet tonight, and I didn't know if that came from Foster Swift's office, the comments off to the side. And I'm asking, will it be incorporated into the overall employee handbook to prevent any overlap or inconsistency in benefits? And I see there's concern about the cemetery, a burial issue, and prior errors are not the fault of the current board or the current sexton. But I do believe that the township remains responsible for rectifying not only this particular Templeman families matter, but prevention of similar heartache. Thank you.
Any other public comment?
My name is Nate Stafford, and I was at the planning commission meeting last week and felt it only fair that I notify the board of some of my thoughts after that meeting, and how I feel like it will be necessary for me to be in touch with the county planning commission, giving them my thoughts about the results of that meeting and the recommendation that was sent on to them. That overlay district was woefully inadequate in size. My family owns more acres outside of that overlay district that should be inside that overlay district. We get option contracts with some of these development companies, and there just was not adequate opportunity for input to appropriately size that overlay district. And I'm gonna be making that known to the town, the county, so they have that to reference when they're reviewing it themselves. I also wanted to mention that I've been in a handful of conversations with Vesper, Rich Russell. And we don't have any formal agreement or anything. We've just had a few conversations, and one thing he's reiterated multiple times now is that they are willing to negotiate, they are willing to figure something out. And I bring this up because I wasn't present for a meeting, but there was a meeting where a conference call was summarized with Vesper, and it felt like Vesper was described as holding all their cards very close to the chest. I don't doubt that that's the truth, but in my interactions with them, there's something that they don't feel like they can trust in that setting, and I don't know what it is. I've had nothing but good conversations with them, productive conversations with them, but you have to be able to trust that whoever you're talking to is acting in good faith, frankly. And I wonder if that's the disconnect. I can't square that circle with my interaction, so I felt like that was needed to be said. And then the last thing I also wanted to make note of was that when Ken appointed himself to the planning commission, there was some statements of concern about the precedent, the image that it sets. Unfortunately, those concerns, in my opinion, were only validated by the way that planning commission meeting went. There's a chair, a vice chair, and Mr. Spicer, and Mr. Spicer ran about half of that meeting, which I understand there's levels of experience, but you still have to defer to the chair, and I did not witness that happen. Thank you.
Laura, do you have anything for tonight?
I'm sure that I will have, things to chime in on as to different items, but I don't have a general comment unless you have a question.
Okay,
Anybody else?
now we'll go to consent agenda. We got the meeting minutes, accounts payable, payroll, and you're gonna get a verbal treasury report?
I emailed them to everybody today, but I'll give a
You
verbal.
emailed it to everyone?
Yep, I'll give a verbal.
Do we have any comments on the meeting minutes?
Did anybody else have any public comments?
Anyone else have any public comments?
I was
Oh, my.
wondering, Councilman family,
Yep,
were you guys going over that now or?
we're gonna go over that a little bit later. It'll
Okay.
be discussion, you can join in with it.
My name is Jason Bryant. I live on, Canary 15 across the street from the, proposed overlay district. I was at the, board meeting or the commission meeting when, they were putting, and I addressed my concerns, some of it being environmental with the, Black River being there and it being a protected stream and how it's gonna affect the, wildlife patterns. Another thing I'm concerned about is how that equipment is going to affect my ham radio equipment. If it's not, shielded and properly, and if they use, inexpensive, non-quality components, it can and will interfere with my ability to use my ham radio equipment at my house. And as far as emergency communications, like I stated at that meeting, if something happens and the internet's out, cell phone's out, landline's out, I mean, I don't know too many people who still have a landline these days, and if they do, it's a voice over internet protocol. So either way, cell phones and internet going out, people may not have the only way for people to be able to get out of that area more than likely will be through me. So they can come tell me, hey, we need to get a hold of so-and-so. And I have other avenues other than just getting a hold of a random ham radio, another random ham radio operator somewhere else in the country. I've got a program on my computer and I can hook my computer up to my radio to where I can send out an email to a regular email address even. So it'd be like your name@gmail.com or whatever it might be. That way they can get word out to their family, friends that, hey, we're safe, we're fine, or even do whatever needs to be done to maybe get help with getting help into that area. If the equipment's going to be going in there, which after discussions, it sounds like the equipment will be going in there. I'd like to see, I'd like it to be tested for radio frequency interference prior to install and periodically after install. That's it.
Anyone else? That agenda? Oh, we got any comments on the meeting minutes?
I looked through them, I didn't see anything that needed to be corrected or added or anything.
Anyone else? Count payables?
I had a couple of issues with some of the higher numbers here, but I figured out what those were, so I'm good with the accounts payable.
Payroll?
Payroll looks good.
And we got the treasury report email. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Gary moved. Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
Mary? This is money, so roll call vote. Gary?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Ken? Yes. There's absent. Jason?
Before I vote, Laura, could I ask you a quick procedural question on this? Because this is wrapped in a consent agenda and I would be approving all the items in it. I was not at the special board meeting and I haven't had a chance to listen to the playback of that. So I don't know that I could
You
vote
can.
yes for that.
You can still vote to approve minutes of a meeting that you were not at.
I know, but I guess,
You can, if you don't wish to. If the consent, I mean, there's already a motion on the table, unless somebody wants to withdraw that and
That's
split
good.
out those minutes, then you could vote separately on that item.
okay. Okay, my vote is yes then, Ken.
So that carried. Information reports, Jason.
You looked at me, so I assume you mean JC, that's okay.
JC,
Jason's beside me by now. So last
Had a
month,
cold.
we had 4 assists to Bangor, 2 assists to Lee, 1 assist to South Haven. We had 1 medical assist, this is for the fire department stuff. Then 8 storm damage call outs, 9 power line downs, 1 illegal burn, and 1 gas leak. We also had a total of 8 priority 1s, 4 priority 2s. For medical for a total of 39 calls last month, which is a busy month for us. Did you want me to do station updates and things now as well, or do you want to do it later on in the world? Like a septic tank update, or septic field update, we got, when they put the field in, there was 2 fields. I've never seen that before. There's 2 fields side by side. And the one was just, when Joe dug it up, one was disconnected and the other one that wasn't being used had a cracked line to it. So we're figuring that that's where the problem is, and we were supposed to get a quote for just repairs of that. And hopefully that would be rather than spending money on putting whole new fields in, that would take care of that. So we're still waiting on that estimate to come back. I can't imagine it's gonna be a huge thing. But what we did realize is that, some people have been driving through the yard right over the top of it. We're figuring that's what caused the damage, not from snowplow, but from other things. And so we were talking about putting a fence up, like a perimeter fence, at least on the, northwest and, south sides, cause the road will be the other side. Just to keep people from driving through that and creating more problems and damaging things. I got a quote for almost 5,000, which is crazy. And then split rail fence for about $1,800, couple different things there. Sat with, the clerk and deputy clerk at some point in the past. Was that last week? Okay, so last week, we're gonna start refreshing the personnel files, to include, all things, legal, so we can get all those up to date and refreshed. It's time. Along with that, we're gonna do SOPs and SOGs. Getting that done. And one of the other things that came up was insurance, and how, MML does not like covering, in-depth programs, which, as I started talking to the other departments in the area, no one uses MML, for the fire department because they're just a pain in the drain to work with and don't like doing things that are good for the fire department. So the VFIS, which is Volunteer Fire Department Insurance Service, which is the name to beat, is the one that will cover, you got a pet frog on there, they'll cover the pet frog. If it's on the roster, they'll cover them. So, I'm in opening discussions with trying to see what that will cost us. But I am 95% sure that that's gonna be the direction we're gonna go. Because, when somebody that I'm paying says I can't do something, well, I'll find somebody else to pay.
Question on the double field, you said one was disconnected, there typically if there's 2 fields, there's a paddle valve in there, the switch back and forth, is that maybe gone or?
No, the paddle valve was there, we found that, but so was the paddle valve, I got a picture if you wanna look at it, but, the one way that was off. They didn't use that one. That's the one that was cracked. And the one that was feeding to was disconnected. So that was probably why we were getting backups, cause it would sort of go in there, but then not really. And then the other thing is, we've been talking for a while about Station One refurb. We're gonna start working on that too, because I was in there today and the lights wouldn't come on, so. I mean, most of them wouldn't come on. So we're gonna start working on that. I think that's everything for us.
Are you, for the quotes, did you get a hold of that Buskers here? They're in Holland, but they have a station here. They've done some repairs for me with real estate relatively inexpensively. BUSSCHERS.
I will put that on my list.
Talk about
Chief,
Got it?
what constitutes an illegal burn? Failure to notice you or?
We're, huh?
Failure to notify.
Well, there's that. I mean, am I gonna be a pain in the brain? No. When you burn stuff you shouldn't, that's an illegal burn.
Oh, that's
So-
what that was?
Yeah, when you're burning things that are not good for the environment, rubber and couches and mattresses, you're gonna draw the ire of us. Typically speaking though, even with those, we'll come out and say, hey, man, we gotta put that out. It's only when they get twinky with us, well, I'll do it out, want to, it's my property. Well, it's against law, so now you've drawn Jeremy into it. Sorry about that. But we don't police, someone, hey, there's a burn going on over here. Is it controlled? Yeah. Is there somebody out there? Yeah. Okay. Congratulations. Thanks for asking, right? Unless the DNR has said no burning, I am not in the habit, I'm not gonna patrol the area going, oh, there's a cigarette going on. No.
Yeah.
So it's only when you're burning things that are ixnay on the open stage. So what you can burn are leaves, sticks, yard waste, that kind of thing. What you may not burn is everything I just listed, and car parts would be another bad thing too. Those kind of things, so.
Pretty much anything that's not a
Anything that's not
organic
natural.
material, natural material.
DNR frowns upon even lumber, right?
Treated lumber.
Treated lumber.
Certain treated lumber.
Treated lumber.
So.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Sheriff?
Alright, so, my apologies, I was gone all last week on vacation, first day back, so I apologize getting the report to you guys late this afternoon. But over the last month in Columbia Township alone, we handled 67 complaints, majority of those being which were traffic stops. This being the month of April, and now that spring is officially here and the summer months are approaching. We will be focusing a lot on traffic stops, with all of the MSP and OHSP grants that we have been issued for the upcoming 4 or 5 months. So you will see a lot more deputies in the area, aside from myself, making traffic stops and handling other complaints along with me. We're just in that time of year where we're ramping up everything. So now that we have the staff to support it, we are really pushing. Any questions for me?
Do you know if the frost laws have been lifted yet?
What?
Frost laws,
I don't know, but I can look into it.
Yeah, they have.
have they? Okay. I know they were put on, but I didn't know if they had lifted already. Typically, they do.
Trump could name that.
Typically, yeah, okay, thank you.
Any board members? Yeah, Gary, Jason, anything you want to say for your report?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know we were skipping.
We don't have the conservation, or not, we don't have the road commission or the county commissioner here.
Okay. I just have a short verbal report. I've made a couple of visits to some people where there were complaints called in. And I left the information on their residence. Nobody was there. Was not able to talk to them in person, so I left the information and taped it to their residence and took a picture of it in case we needed to go further on that. One of them did call me up and asked a bunch of questions, and I answered those, and she's working on that, so that's a good thing. And the other thing One of the residents that was totally surrounded by garbage bags. I did speak with her in person, gave her the information, different numbers to call for help. And lo and behold, when I went by there today, she's starting to clean the place up. So that's really good. I'd rather have people work with us rather than issue tickets and go to court and waste taxpayers' money and waste people's money. So I said, thank you very much. Keep up the good work. So that's my short oral report as far as blight.
Anyone else?
The deputy treasurers will be taking a class, a BSNA class on the budget process at the end of the month. And I will be attending the MMTA conference, from 4/27 through 5/2. And yeah, there's the totals of all the accounts, and I have been working with Huntington on some investing accounts, and we will have a report on that next month.
Okay, we're gonna move to unfinished business. Trevor Phillips resigned from the planning commission. We need to accept his resignation.
I'll make a motion to accept Trevor Phillips' resignation from the PC.
We got a second?
So move.
This isn't about money, I don't think. So all in favor, say aye. Aye. All ayes carried. Consider the supervisor appointment of Kate Schrank to the planning commission beginning May 1st, 2025.
I have some comments regarding that. Nothing personal against Kate Schrank. I think she'd do a super job, especially with the grant forms and applying for those. Without going into detail and respecting her privacy, she's gonna have some issues, family issues that she has to deal with that are out of state. And since the PC already has 3 people on it, which is the supervisor and Frank and Dave. They're able to conduct business. And I also think that putting anybody on another committee, we should have the full board available for comments and questions. And even maybe the people that are running for that position come to a meeting so we can ask questions, interview, and get their ideas and their responses. So I would move at this point, unless there's any other objections, to postpone appointing Kate to the PC at this point in time until next meeting.
Gary made a motion to postpone the appointment of Kate Schrank. We got a second?
I'll second that.
Roll call vote. Gary?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
Ken is no. Mary?
I would like to, yeah, I'm gonna say, yes, because I would like to talk to her, have her come. And I think I'd like to verify with Kara that we did advertise this on at least the website. Do you know that?
Yes.
We did? Okay.
We advertised it where?
I've
On the
not seen
website.
that.
You didn't see it on the website?
No.
We've had it on there. I don't know if it's on now, but
I
we've been
apologize for not
advertising
checking
all
before we
along.
came, but
I've also been normally putting it in my report. Seeking planning commission members.
maybe we should,
Anyways, motion carried to postpone Kate Schrank. Jay's here tonight. I'd like to appoint him to the planning commission.
Again, my only comments, I did call, Jay and speak with him on the phone. I appreciate the information that you gave me. It was helpful. Again, my only thoughts is we should have the full board here present to do that. I also believe in relationship with Kate as well, that we should at least advertise. We have a policy that we normally follow to advertise in the reminder for people that may be interested other than or along with, on the website. And as you said in your supervisor's report, and I don't know how many people will read that, but, I do think it is a good business to get, some more input, if any, from the public and run a, ad in the paper for that. That being said, and nothing personal, I would, again, move to postpone, possibly adding Jay to our next meeting to give the other member of the board a chance to, weigh in on it.
Well, my opinion is he's highly qualified. And the odds of finding someone that is qualified as him is gonna be very hard to find. Same thing with, Kate Schrank. She's a lawyer. She's a business person. She's an environmentalist. She's, concerned about that. So I have very good candidates. Not putting them on, it just delays the issue.
I agree with that, with Kate, I just like her to be here to talk, but I think since Jay's here, I would like to ask him a couple questions.
Sure.
I believe, hi Jay, and you came in when we were running an election thing and talked about being on the planning commission last year.
Yeah, I've
So-
been thinking about it for a long time.
Yeah, and we talked about it then.
Yeah.
So what do you like about the planning committee? I mean, what do you think that you can bring to the table here?
Well, I guess what finally spurred me to do it was, a friend had said that someone told me, I heard someone's leaving and they're actually looking for people.
Okay,
So it's actually, it'd be a good time to do that. And, I guess I'd like to just kind of get back involved with the township.
mhm,
In 2003 to 2005, I used to be up here a lot. I was the computer support guy. I did some programming for the township. And so I worked closely with the treasurer and the clerk and the supervisor back in those years. And I had good experience with that. And then I took a full-time job in Kalamazoo, so with the commute and all that, it was too much time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been wanting to, now that I'm in the township full-time, I've just been wanting to do that.
and I remember you saying that when you came in,
Yeah,
and I believe this is where I think you thought Trevor was Jay. I think that we got those two confused, so.
and
I'm
if you
happy
guys
that-
wanna wait, I'm in no hurry. If you wanna wait that's fine with me. But just so I know, who's missing from the board?
Kara is not here
Our
today.
clerk,
Oh, Kara's not here.
Kara, this is the deputy clerk.
Oh, okay.
Jennifer, this is Jennifer.
Oh, okay. Oh,
I have no qualms with your qualifications at all.
yeah, gotcha. That's fine. Yeah.
However, it's not a rush for the PC. You have 3 active members on there. They can take care of business. And I just don't like, I know that people say the government moves pretty slow. But maybe there's a reason for that. And I don't like to make hasty decisions when there is no emergency to take care of any situations.
Well, I think what you have is somebody highly qualified, and I think you're gonna get 3 votes no matter how you look at it for him, whether it's today or next month. And we got 4 people here. So I think they ought to vote to try to put him on. So you can make a motion to postpone.
He does have a motion.
Yeah, so there's a motion.
There's a motion on the floor.
There's a second
right now.
I made the motion, but there's been no second,
second?
just a discussion and some
Okay, well,
comments.
Gary's got a motion. Do we have a second?
Is it appropriate for me to ask questions, Sue, before there's a second?
Well, none of this was technically, all of it should have come after a second.
Right.
Correct. So it's not the end of the world. You can operate a bit informally, but if you technically there should be a second in that discussion.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I just want to say thank you for submitting your letter of interest and thank you for being here tonight. I think, you know, those of us that serve in the township always want more people involved, so I applaud you for that. And I think if you're sensing any hesitation, it might just be that there's been a lot of turmoil and turnover on the planning commission in recent months. And I think we just want to make sure that any candidate knows what they're getting into maybe. And so like my first question would be, were you made aware that if you join the PC, you have to take the citizens planner class within 3 months, and then every year you got to do some continuing education, like go to a seminar there, because the planning commission recently passed some, you know, kind of requirements for their members to make sure that they're up to speed on things. So I just didn't know if that had been communicated to you yet.
No.
Okay.
So that's good information.
Would that be a problem for you in any way?
No,
Okay,
I don't think so.
cool.
But like I said, you know, I'm not in a rush either, so. But yeah, no, I didn't know about that. I did call, Dave Marcelletti before, and I kind of asked him for an overview of what it was like serving on the planning commission.
Yeah,
And he gave me a pretty good idea, and I thought that was something.
okay. What would you hope to bring to the planning commission? I know your letter of interest kind of laid out your experience, but in terms of like our township, like what do you think the planning commission needs, or what could you bring to the planning commission?
No, I don't have any specific thing. I mean, I'd probably, for the first couple of months, I'd probably just be listening. I have kept track, you know, I have kept up on the Vesper thing and the special use district. Is there any other major things? I haven't fully read, I know there's a master plan that I would need to read that. I haven't fully read that. I've skimmed it. So, yeah,
Then you've gone through the process of building a house and
sure.
got permits and
Sure.
you're familiar with the process.
Yeah, I've been in the township for a while.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I care about it. I care about the natural, keeping the natural beauty of it. I like, you know, parks, I like the minimal development, you know, to help people use it. I'm sensitive to, what the residents want of the township, and I mean, I'm probably just kind of like a moderate. I'm not really extreme in any one way, and I'll listen a lot before, you know, I kind of came up with an opinion on something. Do a lot of listening, so.
Thank you. Yeah.
Ken, you have to show me where it's on the website.
I said it was on the website. I don't know if it's on now. I don't know if she took it off or when.
I don't think it's been on since we've had the new website.
I
So
know it was on there at one time.
months at least. Yeah,
Any other questions? So Gary had a motion to postpone. Is there a second?
I think I'll second that.
Okay, vote. Gary,
Yes, to postpone. We have a procedure that we normally follow.
Jason,
Yes.
Ken is no. Mary,
No,
anyone want to change their mind? I'm just asking.
I think you have the answer.
Okay. Fails for not getting the majority of the board. The wage schedule.
So there's a motion to postpone that failed. You can still make a motion on the agenda item if somebody else wishes to make a motion. Like a motion to approve the appointment.
So I can make a motion to approve the appointment? Well, I'll make that a motion.
I'll
I made a
second it.
motion, Mary seconded it. This will be a roll call vote. Ken is yes. Mary,
Yes,
Gary,
No,
Jason?
No.
Yeah, you did the same spot, but you had the chance to at least vote on it, so.
thank you for that.
Is that required to be a roll call vote?
No,
Just curious.
If there's payment of money, there's not
that's
salary.
not even legally, there's very few things statutorily that have to be a roll call vote. Going into closed session, for example, is one of them. There are certain things. As a matter of practice, many communities, when there's an expenditure of money, do a roll call vote. Basically, anytime you can do a roll call vote to make it easier to do the minutes, it just takes a little bit more time. If you know it's gonna be unanimous, like approving, the minutes, often a voice vote is fine, but there's nothing wrong about doing a roll call vote on these.
What's mandatory to do a roll call vote?
Open, under the Open Meetings Act, going into a closed session, I think you're gonna quiz me on all of them, there's very few things.
Okay.
Money isn't one of them?
Not statutorily, no, unless it's
Huh.
if it's in your board rules and requirements. But it's very.
It's good practice.
Very common and good practice,
Let's go for good print.
good practice. At the end of the day, typically, you want your minutes to be correct on this.
Okay, I4, consideration approval of resolution 2025-001 wage schedule. We have two drafts. I think there's some confusion on what was actually determined on that. I remember at the meeting, what we decided is that we'd have 5 PC members receiving $60 a day. That the planning commission chairperson would receive an additional, what I thought was $45. And the secretary would receive $15 if they do the secretary's position.
I thought the chairperson was 30.
It can be 30. I remember 45, and I think, Jason, I think you said that. You kind of split something in half and 45, 30 or something like that for the
I
secretary.
think it might have been based on what the current pay rate was, but
It
yeah.
was on the basic pay rate was, but whatever you want to do, if you want to do 30 and 15, that's fine.
Okay, there's another, schedule that was handed to the board. Everybody has in front of them that may be something to consider because it keeps it very simple like it has been in the past. And it's shown in, dollar increments, equal amounts, planning secretary, $75 a day. Planning commission chairperson, $90 a day, so it doesn't matter what their duties are. If there's a meeting, they get that paid. Couple of other things at the bottom with the, I think is really important is the, emergency services staff. Where we have the, and neither one of these that are in the packet show that they have the, and their annual, pay scale plus on-call and plus training. None of that's shown in the two that are in the packet, and that's on the new one that was revised, and I think that's important to have. Also with the, standard amounts on here for the hearing for the board of review, the $120 a day, the zoning board of appeals with the $30 a day, for hearing. So it keeps it real simple and it's easier for the, treasurer, and the account person to take care of. And especially now with the new ESTA thing with the overtime pay. And BSNA is working on a module probably to take care of this, from what I understand from the, deputy treasurer. I believe this is a much simpler and easier way for,
That might be simpler, but it's not logical or reasonable to use. Number one, if you have a chairman that doesn't show up, you're still gonna pay the chairman the money, or the chair doesn't get paid money that night? You wouldn't get that part?
if they don't.
Or
show
if you
up.
have a secretary, let's say the recording secretary in there, and the secretary does the meeting minutes, and, the secretary isn't there and somebody else has to do it, should they not get the pay, or should you just strictly rely it to go to the PC secretary and the chairman when they're there.
Well, if it was
This
the,
is set up so that if somebody's absent and somebody takes that position, they get paid. That's the way I set it up. Because we have a lot of absentees going on. And it's fair to the person that's doing the chair.
or could the acting chairperson get the 90?
And it could be used that way right here, if they're taking the position that somebody's absent. If they're taking the position, they get paid what the position says. What's wrong with that? That's exactly what you just said.
Could it be on their time sheet, which
The-
role they had?
Yeah,
Well, the timesheet was gonna have the chairperson, then it's gonna have a name and be set up that way, but
Isn't that what they?
that means
use?
every month you'd have to change the name of who might be the chairperson on that.
no. That. If a chairperson doesn't show up.
You know, technically, it ain't worth arguing. Whatever you want, Gary. I mean, it's just,
All I'm trying to do is keep it simple for the treasurer.
you're trying to keep it separate for yourself, is what you're trying to do.
You just said if somebody doesn't show up, then what do they get paid? If they take that spot, they get paid that spot. Sounds pretty simple to me.
Yeah,
Are we just debating over a formatting thing, I guess, like, this is. Has
yeah.
more columns and more numbers and this one doesn't, I mean, all the numbers are the same,
Yeah.
I guess, no?
Yeah, no, yeah, I mean, the ones that are stipulated in here. Actually, now if Ken wants to keep them the way it is here for his calculations and stuff, I don't have an issue with that. That's the way he does things. That's fine. But we don't need that on the wage schedule. All you need is who gets paid what,
So do you
when,
want this wage schedule right here, right?
correct.
Okay.
That's my point. If,
Make the motion.
if somebody, I would move that we adopt this wage schedule as presented. Which includes the fire personnel with their overtime and their training. And if somebody doesn't show up for a spot, whatever spot
Whoever
they're
fills
filling, that's what they get paid.
I'll second it.
Who has a copy of that?
You do right there.
No. Who has a copy that can be digitalized for Kara?
We could,
It's been sent to.
it's been sent to Kara.
Did it?
Yeah.
It's been sent to her? Word format?
Yeah,
Okay. That's all that matter. Gary, you made a motion?
I did.
Mary seconded it.
Mary seconded?
Since we have a second for discussion, Mary, I'm assuming since you second that, I mean, I would defer to you as the treasurer. You have to deal with this the most. Which format do you prefer? Like,
I think that, as long as we know whoever's the acting chairperson that day gets if they're doing the chairperson job, then they'll get that.
Yeah.
And then whoever's the acting secretary and whoever's the recording secretary. Whoever's taking the minutes, whoever's doing that should get paid that, no matter who it is. So I'm
it
gonna give
seems to be
this,
spelled out in both of them, so
yeah, it's,
in my opinion, it's your call and way, like.
yeah, and I'm gonna give this to Jen and just say, put that one in. I think that's the simplest. We'll just use it. If there's ever a problem, we'll just bring it back to the board.
Okay.
So give that to Kara. And we need to vote. I just use this one on there, so we're using the same one.
Yep.
Okay,
Ken, are you seeing a reason that this other version is better? Or,
The only reason that's better, I already had it set up to be able to do the invoices, boom. Automatically,
okay,
put in who's in attendance and that would do everything for you. I can alter that, I can work on it. I can work with this,
you're good at Excel, you can do
I
it.
can make that work. This is money, but we don't need to do money,
If it's been your practice, keep.
Let's just
doing
keep
it.
that
I'm not
practice.
that's our
discouraging
practice, we
you.
probably ought to keep it up.
We don't need any confusion.
Let's see, Gary,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes,
Ken's yes, Jason?
Yes.
Discussion.
We've had enough. On this,
The Creo notification, we got a letter from, Vesper wanting to, sit down and negotiate with us. I imagine Laura and myself will be there. And I think the board ought to provide us with some highlights or some points that you would like to make sure that we cover. I know we have a workable ordinance. Everything in the workable ordinance is acceptable for our discussions.
So maybe we could start with, are you planning to do that?
I haven't had any communication with Vesper about
Okay.
that yet.
They didn't send you an email?
They sent the email that's in your packet,
Yeah,
but we haven't responded to that.
well, we're waiting for tonight to see what the
Right.
board wanted to do.
Yeah, I asked Kara to put this on the agenda, so.
And I think that's appropriate. So from our perspective, where we're at, and maybe for the benefit of those who haven't been at every meeting, we've got a couple of ordinances making their way up to the township board that would be compatible renewable energy ordinance under PA 233. Those have to still have their time with the county planning commission. And I'm not sure what the timing is on that. I suspect they'd be here at your next township board meeting. What Vesper is, and at the same time, Vesper has started its process moving toward a state application. Before they can apply to the state, they had to have the meeting with the supervisor, which we already had. And they also have to have a sort of public forum, where they invite the public, they provide the notice. It's not a township meeting, like this, although it might be located here. We had talked with them about some dates. On their end, those dates didn't work or whatever, they've kind of put it off a bit, and you'll see that in this email that they say, you know, we expect to remain in touch with the township concerning both the required public meeting and our proposals for community benefits. I haven't heard any update on when they want to have that public meeting, and maybe that's because they want to have these discussions as well. What they're talking about is talking to the township about what they will consider a workable ordinance, even if it is not a Creo under PA 233. The township board could receive their input in a couple of ways. I mean, it could invite them to come to a township board meeting or work session. You could schedule a special meeting and ask them to come talk about, you know, that workable ordinance there. It could be a joint meeting with the planning commission, since any changes would have to go through the planning commission. Or it could just be not a public meeting, but a meeting with the supervisor, with us. And, you know, if you wanted one other board member, you could have one other board member, because that would still be less than a quorum of the board. So it's really up to the township. First, I guess, if there's interest in discussing a workable ordinance with Vesper. And I think that's something this board should talk about tonight. And if so, then what does that conversation look like? I take my direction from you guys. So if that's the way the board wants to go, then I will do everything in my power, you know, to make it all happen. So I just need to know what the majority of the board wants to do.
I think we should have some discussion. I think probably most of the members here think we ought to at least go into discussion.
Maybe I'm missing something, but I thought there was already a workable ordinance in process with your firm. Am I wrong, or
The
was?
workable was something that, well, and we say workable, that was, if I recall, one that Catherine had put together. I don't know if Vesper considers that workable. I have no idea.
I can speak to that a little from
Okay.
conversations that were had back when they were attending planning commission meetings, but I don't know if that's for
No, I
further
think,
discussion.
I think it would frankly be helpful, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a Creo that's been established at all yet, or?
You do not currently have a Creo. That's what the planning commission has recommended up, and it's going to the county, and then it will be at the township board.
Okay.
Your workable was not approved by the board either, right?
It was recommended to the board by the planning commission.
But it wasn't approved.
It wasn't approved. We went back to do the
Right.
overlay district and that, and
Correct.
then we wanted to have both of those to look at. along with knowing that they could go to the state and then make a decision what we're gonna do.
Right, but yeah, our firm didn't do the workable, we kind of stepped in into this process
yeah.
there, that was when you had the two different attorneys.
No, I remember your discussion
Yeah.
and, said that, I think, Michael had said that the Creo, you would be better doing the Creo or would concentrate.
That's always been our position,
Yeah.
because even if it's workable for Vesper, that doesn't mean it's workable for any other
Right.
applicant. So even if you have something workable, if you don't have a Creo, then no, and any other applicant who comes can bypass you and go straight to the state. That's kind of the catch-22 you find yourself in. Again, that's not to dissuade you if the board wants to not have a Creo, that's the board's decision. The risk is what's workable for one applicant is not necessarily workable for all applicants.
Right.
Yeah.
So does
Did the
anyone,
workable one ever go to the county?
Yes,
It did.
yes.
Yeah, because I was at the township board for a vote, so it would have had to go to that county first.
what has gone to the county?
The workable.
The workable
And now the Creos.
and now the Creo. Okay, so both of those are at the county level. And they haven't come back to the planning commission yet, is that correct?
They don't,
They come
they
here
don't, they
next.
go.
I'm sorry, they wouldn't
The
come back.
workable came here, but we didn't take it up.
Okay,
Creo has to go through the county first.
So what we talked about as a workable at that level, I guess the question for Vesper, who was likely listening, or watching the recording is that what they consider a workable ordinance? Or do they want something different than that as a workable ordinance?
Can I jump in here? I have a lot of thoughts on this. I've been kind of watching this unfold, and I think that what we do next is pretty important, for a number of reasons. So, correct me if I'm wrong, but once Vesper initiates the process and reaches out to the township, we have 120 days to either adopt a Creo or I believe I read it in the statute, but there's a 120-day period where we have to either show we have a Creo or enter into an agreement with them that we have a workable, and I think there might be a 120-day extension.
So actually, it's 30 days from the meeting with the chief executive officer. We've already, I think, passed that point of having to show.
What's the 120-day mark
Not
that was
sure which
written in there?
120 day, and workable, to be clear, nowhere in the statute. That's not a statutory term.
sure.
So it doesn't.
Well,
See if I can switch.
a few meetings back, when they originally reached out, I had asked if it was possible to do both simultaneously, and I think you said, sure. But
Yeah,
I just think that we need to make sure that we're considering every single option here. Because this is the second email now that Vesper has explicitly stated, we're very interested in working with the township, which means we can potentially have some leverage if they're interested in working with the township. Sorry if you don't agree with that, Vesper, but.
I should say 120 days is the amount of time, if there is an application filed with the township under the Creo that they have to process, that the township has to process. So the 120 days doesn't relate to what we're doing right now.
Okay. Well, that notwithstanding, Vesper's told us twice, they're eager to work with us. We had a resident stay in public comment that they've told them individually in conversations that they're interested in working with us. The Creo still needs to work its way through. I'm not even saying that the Creo is a bad idea. We're also tagging on this overlay district, which is highly contingent upon whether or not your lawsuit is effective and successful. So we still have these scenarios where we could find ourselves with projects outside an overlay district if the lawsuit doesn't go in our favor. So, I feel like we should definitely, try to work with them. I mean, in my experience, when I was on the planning commission and they were attending meetings and we were talking with the draft ordinances and things were going on, it seemed like the workable that we had at the time was fairly close. I mean, there were still some discussions about decibel levels and things like that, but it didn't seem like we were maybe far off. I don't know. We didn't let the thing play out all the way, but I certainly think it's worth having conversations with them. I may be reading through the lines here, in between the lines too much here, but I'm wondering, because when you guys had your first meeting with them, you said they were very, like, they didn't share much and the conversation was very short and, but they're also saying we really are interested in working with the township and I'm wondering, like, could there be any sort of perception of a conflict here since you represent us in negotiations of our individual workable, but your firm also represents the class action lawsuit and maybe there's a way that could negatively impact our negotiations, I guess.
So I don't know, I can't speak to that.
Yeah.
Certainly, as I said, we take our direction from the board, so if the
Right.
board says, you know, go forth and have a conversation about workable, that's what we'll do. If the board wants that conversation to take place without legal, I'm perfectly fine with that, as long as their legals, you know, it would be equal, right? If their legals
Sure.
on, we would want legal on. But if they don't have, if it's, you know, Rich Russell or whoever else having that conversation, that's a board call, to the extent they're good with that. The other thing is just, you know, probably being communicated here, which is needing to know from them what they mean by workable.
Right.
What I had one, it wasn't Vesper, it was a solar developer in another community, you know, presented, like, hey, here's your ordinance, here's our red lines of what it would take to make it workable for us to not go to the state. And then at least that community, and the community did not wind up going with that, but they at least had something in their hands to know what we were talking about when we talked about workable for that developer. And I personally think that makes it helpful rather than talking in generalities about a workable ordinance.
I think what we're looking for is a financial benefit for having them there for our township and what they can provide to us.
I don't know if I agree with that statement, only because we don't approve land uses based on financial benefit.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Well, they're offering a lot of financial benefit for doing what they're doing.
I mean, in the general sense, right, development increases tax revenue, there's always obviously things like that, but I don't know that I don't think that's the standard we use, at least that I use in looking at zoning questions.
I think, I don't know if this is the best way to characterize it, but I think that we should be considering and pursuing all viable alternatives of how this could play out, because in my mind, it could still play out a number of different ways. I mean, we now have, since this all opened up, we now have information from a resident that said they have had conversations, I think that was at the planning commission, last planning commission meeting, they've had conversations with another utility company on other properties that are now adjacent to the overlay district. So who knows how this is gonna pan out when it goes through the county planning commission and back to us. And again, I'm beating a dead horse, but the overlay, confining those projects to the overlay district is only relevant in the case of a successful lawsuit. So it's almost like, I feel like we need to hedge our bets in as many ways as possible. And that the first one would certainly be having some conversations with Vesper to see how close we are on a workable. Because it could well be to our advantage to go that route and have something better in place for our township than a Creo with them. I know it doesn't affect every future project, but
I guess I would agree with Laura in the sense that if we have a workable ordinance right now that we have, present that to Vesper and say, this is what we're looking at. Tell us what you think.
Well, that is what they think. Vesper approved all this up there, right?
I don't know that.
I mean, it never went far enough to where they went through and redlined anything and said, this is not workable for us, you know what I mean? Like,
That's what we need
it
to
was
do.
very preliminary in terms of, are we close? And we had the draft and then it still needed to make its way back to the board, but since we never took it up, we didn't get to go, you know,
Well,
back
that's,
to
in
them.
my mind, that's what needs to happen. so
Sure.
This negotiation can move forward and get something done and in place.
I
So-
wholeheartedly agree.
So if we have a workable ordinance, I think it should be presented to Vesper, maybe with some viable additions or whatever, and have them redline it, change it, agree to it, whatever that they determine.
Vesper never agreed to that,
To what?
to the ordinance that you had put together. They never reviewed that and provided comments of what they want to change?
I don't think they ever said, this looks great. I know that Tasha, when we did the draft with Catherine, there was some back and forth about specific issues that residents had raised, like decibel and screening and lighting and things like that. And I think those were being tweaked, but I don't know that we ever got to a point where we presented a final to Vesper and they said, this is a green light.
If they did at that time, that was.
Yeah,
You know, some period of time ago, what we need to know is what is workable now, and I would say,
Correct.
provide the Creos too, provide all the, you know, say what, you know. Cause there are parts in the Creo that actually are the Creo that may be more favorable to them than what's in what was called the work. To the extent they're word for word the same as PA 233.
sure. Well, and depending on if we were far apart on a workable, I think, I don't know what the line is, but if we change the original ordinance too much, it's my understanding that you have to go back through the process again. And I don't know what too much is. I mean, if it's incremental numbers of 60 decibels to 65 or whatever, if that's acceptable, or you have to start over and do another public hearing and all that.
Yeah, and that's really, we need to look at, kind of make a judgment call based on those specific changes.
So that's what we need to do. We need to take this
Do
workable.
you want Laura and I to do that?
Who has the workable? We
Tasha has the
Yeah, we
workable.
have it.
Tasha still has the workable?
Well, she's got the copy that went to the county. I think we got the copy that
I'm
went
sure
to
it's
the
in
county.
your old packets.
Yeah, there's a whole packet. Well, Laura and I can have that conversation.
I would like to be present. I almost think it would be good to do a working session, have the whole board there. I mean, this is just there's too much information, too many scenarios.
Well, I think what we would be doing is just the first part before we do that. See if that's workable and what changes they may want to it.
Well, I
Get
would,
that taken care of and then come to the board
I think
with
we
a,
can email, right, and just say here, you know, watch our meeting if you have not already seen it.
Right.
These are the ordinances that the township board has been looking at. We would like to know what would make it workable, either by you presenting us a red line or having a meeting. I don't disagree. It should be a broader meeting, and that is because I don't want different characterizations of what the meeting is,
Yeah.
frankly.
I think for
Agreeable.
transparency, we should do
Yeah.
that.
Yes,
I
transparent.
do think, and just to go back though, maybe this is the next point we need to discuss is, I do think we should consider your participation. No offense. I mean, generally speaking, I go, legal is good to have, but if I put myself in their shoes and I say, this person also represents.
It's not popular amongst the
No, you're-
renewable energy
well,
industry right
no.
now.
No, but if
I'm
you're,
joking.
if
I'm
any
not
argument you
offended.
make on our
I
behalf,
am.
I could see where they would think that could be used against them in the greater lawsuit. So I don't know.
Yeah, it wouldn't. It's an appeal, but regardless, I am not offended. I do not take any of that personally. Any of that is the board's decision.
but Vesper doesn't take it either. Their attorney is not, upset about you doing what you're doing, right?
I don't know what Vesper's opinion is on it.
Yeah, I don't know why lawyers are pretty flexible.
Okay, my advice, and I'm just one person here, would be, like Laura said, email what you have as far as workable to Vesper. And say, look at this. Check it out, redline it, add to it, whatever, or say it's great, we'll do this, and get it back to us. So we can move forward with this.
Do you think that would include the draft Creo in its current state as it hasn't worked its way through the process?
Yeah, none of it has, I mean, frankly, they're
That's
basically
true.
at the same point, right? You're both, I mean, the Creos are going to the county. I don't know when their meeting is.
Right.
So it's been recommended by the planning commission. It's a public document. I mean, it could be
Right.
sent over to, I would probably send it all over. I think some parts of the Creo, they might find more favorable. I might be wrong about that. Yeah, get an email over and it makes sense to me.
You wanna generate the email for us and one of the board members can send it over, I'll
Is
send it
that,
over?
is that a good compromise?
I think so. I mean, I don't even know. Yeah.
Okay,
I can do that.
boy, that was painful.
Now you should decide if you want me to keep coming and make it painful. Let me.
Well, I
on your
think
next
part of
step-
the issue too is, I feel like when we're having this discussion, we're almost saying that we know it's coming, you know, and we know that our citizens are against it. So I feel like sometimes a little torn, like when we're working toward this, it almost felt better to have them go to the state and us say, we didn't have any control over it.
And that's another perspective that some communities have taken. Just because you're having this conversation with Vesper does not obligate you to adopt it at the end of the day.
That's right.
I mean, we know our citizens do not want it, but we don't have a choice.
Yeah, and
So we're trying to make
To
it,
Jason's point, you're exploring these different options, then if you do, whether you vote it up or vote it down, you know what the different options are.
okay.
Well, we're between a rock and a hard spot
Absolutely.
because we're not gonna be able to please everybody. And not everybody is gonna be all disappointed either.
And the state has, you know,
So,
obviously limited.
We
your
try to
direction.
do what we can do for the best in the community and our taxpayers. With at least trying to get a little bit of sugar in the,
Well, if it's next to, I mean, if it was next to me, and it's next to him, I mean, yeah,
right.
we would like it to go away. It will not go away. So,
For your next item, just to be clear, I have no personal preference. I'm not personally offended. I'm happy to be here. If you want me here, you're all nice to see in person. If you'd like me to stay home, I'll do that as well. Also, Zoom can be an option and answering questions in advance through legal opinions is an option. So just wanted to put that out there.
Can I get a motion to have our attorney generate an email
Oh, sorry.
on renewable energy to send to Vesper for comments?
So moved.
Gary moved it. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Jason second. Roll call vote, Gary,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Ken, yes, Mary?
yes.
To clarify, I'm drafting that and I'm giving it to the township to send, or am I sending it?
Well,
Send it to them. They're the ones that are gonna look at it.
well, you're worried about the attorney being that. You can send it to me and I'll send it to him. If you want. I mean, that's up to the board, however you want. I have no problem with Laura sending
And
it.
I can say, feel free to communicate directly with the township in response to this.
That seems like a good alternative.
Maybe have someone on the township copied in that email if you
Oh,
get it directly.
Yeah, for sure, yeah. All right, that language, that'll solve.
So you're sending the email?
I will send the email
Okay.
and we'll make it clear they can communicate directly with the township.
Okay.
And who is giving Laura both the workable and the,
I can pull them off the
Creel?
packets.
is the workable somewhere you can get to?
If I can't find it, I will
See me, I got
sound
it.
the alarm.
Okay, we added attorney to 1-6. I think, do we have all our conversations with our attorney? Any other conversation for the attorney?
Well, if, I guess this would be an appropriate place. I just have some other questions. I was gonna wait until we actually said we were gonna have her continue coming here, but if that's,
Well, that's right now, 1.6, ask questions and
okay,
whether you want her to continue.
okay.
My point in bringing that up on the agenda was not to suggest that I don't want our attorney here anymore. I was just simply pointing out, we had voted in a 3-month window and we were past the 3-month window,
Correct.
so we need to decide what we're doing. So
Right,
I have personally felt it's valuable to have Laura here. I would be willing to continue it for another 3 months. I mean, maybe we just take it in increments like that.
I have no issue with that at all. I think it's good for the whole board to have the comments and the questions when, our council's here in person.
Jason made a motion, Gary, you second it?
Yes.
And,
Ish.
what period of time do you want, Jason?
He said 3
4
months.
months.
3 months?
I'm not sure he actually made a motion.
That's okay. I'll turn it into a motion. I make a motion
I
that
figured
we
you'd make a
extend our
Motion-ish.
invitation to our attorney for 3 months.
Second.
Jason, vote.
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
Mary,
No,
I'll vote yes. Is there anything else, Laura, that we need to discuss?
I'm guessing you're gonna ask me some questions on the upcoming items, but, I'm sorry, the other item I did wanna mention is the status of the appeal. Today was the deadline for amicus briefs, which are briefs filed by other people or entities, in support of one of the parties. Amicus means friend, so friend of a party. I don't have the final count, but I know there were more than a dozen amicus briefs filed. I think pretty evenly split. So the next step will be for the Court of Appeals to schedule oral argument. I don't know when that will be yet. We are going to have, we're still waiting on, we expect one more amicus brief before midnight tonight, which is the deadline. Once we have all of them, we will have, a spot on our website that we can share that has a link to all the briefs. So if you want to read, a dozen or more briefs on the issue of PA 233, you'll have them all available for you.
I don't know if I'm following it correctly or not, but, so correct me if I'm wrong, but is that out of the 79 or 97 townships?
So we already did our briefs. These are other groups like, Michigan Township Association, Michigan Association of Counties, Farm Bureau.
Oh, okay,
all
different
these-
entities.
Other entities that are not parties to the lawsuit, and our briefs have already been filed.
Okay,
These are all of the people who have an opinion on it, so some, green energy, organizations, things like that as well. Yep, good question. We do not have to file 79 separate briefs for our.
Do you have any sense of what the timeline could be on this?
We really hope it'll be in the next couple of months that we'll get an oral argument date.
Okay,
I can't guarantee it, but certainly this has sent the message to the court that it's very important. The House of Representatives filed an amicus brief in support of our position.
oh, nice.
So there's a lot of, it's clear that the stakes are high. I think that will prompt the court to schedule it sooner rather than later.
And then once you get an oral argument date, does it go pretty quickly
It
then?
depends. I've had them in as soon as a week and some that have taken a few months. So, we hope for as expeditious as possible.
I do have a couple other questions for you.
Yeah.
And if you can maybe clarify these, don't know if the following duties are optional at the township level or not, but if I'm correct, there are 3 mandatory or maybe statutes that I don't know if they're statutes, that the township is required to do. And I think that's elections, collect taxes, and assessments. So am I correct in saying that those are what the township has to do? We're required to do those 3.
There are more than that. If you list out the statutory duties, in fact, the statutes go into the duties of a supervisor, the duties of a clerk, the duties of a treasurer.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, so I actually have a memo that lists, and it's several pages long, of the different statutory duties.
Well, then let me ask a little different. I know there are other things that townships provide for the townships, like police, like fire, like, public works, if we had that, parks, if we had cemeteries, which we have, zoning and that sort of thing. Are those mandatory?
Generally, no. And it's surprising for some people to hear township does not have a duty to provide police or fire service.
Right.
Everybody would really like it if you do. Nobody really wants to live in
And
a
more,
community
more
that-
townships do that.
that does it, yeah, but there's not a legal obligation to provide public safety services.
Okay. Okay. One other thing. And no reflection on your firm or anything else. But I'm curious, if we belong to MTA, of course, so we get a lot of information from their legal service there. If we were to act on something they advise us to do,
Mhm.
and we were sued for that, but you're our legal counsel. Would you still provide service for us and what's the word, I guess? I guess defend us.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
We'll defend you. I mean, you can do something without legal advice and we'll defend you. You can do some, something on what MTA said, we'll defend you. That's our job.
I thought so, but
Yeah.
I just wanted to have the rest of the board and maybe the public here understand that. So,
Yep.
thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All done?
I'm finished. Thank you.
Okay, Journey to the Well. The planning commission has recommended approval of the special land use to construct a 20 by 60 welcome area within the existing 60 by 80 storage building. They did not find any issues which would stop that. It is basically gonna be an accessory use to the lodge. Is there any questions the boards might have of the documents that were provided?
No, I read through them. I think they're satisfactory.
Agreed.
And the planning commission had a unanimous vote on this recommendation, so.
No questions for Scott?
I don't.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve the special use permit for Scott Beck
So moved.
at the Journey to the Well? Gary made a motion. Can I get a second?
Second it.
Mary, second it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Ayes, carry. Consideration for the Fullers on behalf of the late Roger Templeman for this intermittent fees and all costs to relocate. We had a problem out in the cemetery where they could not fit what is it called? What's the enclosure, concrete enclosure?
The vault?
We couldn't get the vault to fit, which means they had to relocate the body. The body didn't get planted next to the wife. Our ordinance has criteria in it that we, any errors were just limited to the cost of the plot. But I think the township board ought to consider what happened there. And maybe what we ought to do is contact our insurance company.
Can I hear from the sexton what happened?
Well,
Mike,
What I think would happen, either Jeff Gasper or the Pages had buried north of their section, vaults, and they have headstones out there. Directly south of the Templeman spot, there are also vaults in the ground which do not have headstones. So either the previous sexton or the previous sexton before him measured from the north vaults, not realizing there was vaults super close to these plots because there's no headstone there, and obviously back in the day, he did not have a good map to go on. So when they buried, I'm assuming Roger's wife, they did not measure off of that vault that's out there currently. They're just way too close to fit another vault in there.
and the headstone has both their names on it, is that?
Correct.
yeah,
Correct. So I guess what they're asking to do right now is, it was supposed to be him, his wife, and his son, I believe.
yeah, my brother was buried
Okay.
first.
And what we had to do was put him next to, the son, so he's not next to his wife.
So right now it's his wife, his son, and him. So I guess what they're asking to do is move the wife back 2 plots over.
That's only if they, I guess we were given the other lot over there.
Yes, correct. They owned it,
I wasn't
plot
sure.
to the north,
Okay,
but I measured it and there's also another plot to the north of that. So there is enough room to do this.
okay.
Yeah. there-
That was just so you didn't have to interrupt another family and move another one over, so you could use the one you had. I just to move her over and it'd be right with their headstone.
Yeah,
They got these plots over 40 years ago.
yeah, and obviously over 40 years ago, these vaults were out there and whoever, I don't know if it was Jeff or if it was the Pages, when they broke it, there was no way they would have known those 2 vaults. There's 2 vaults there, so we can't move the vault that is currently in the way without moving multiple vaults. There's more vaults out there than just the one.
Okay.
Have they been using vaults for 40 years?
I do not know. I would assume so, but
All you're finding is vaults out there, because back
Yeah,
when I
yeah.
remember old days, there was
They
never,
didn't use
vault.
vaults back in the old days.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell
Pretty
you,
sure that 40 years ago, I think they were using vaults, but I can't say yes or no on that for sure.
I can tell you, I recommended last term when I was on the board that we use sonar and have, I even had, I think it was CSIM cemetery, something or other, can't remember. I've got it listed somewhere in my emails. To use sonar and map out the cemeteries. Now, it's a little pricey, but to me, it'd be worth it to know where all these vaults and empty graves are, so this doesn't happen in the future.
Now, if that was done a couple years ago, obviously that could prevent.
The
future
sonar
stuff
was,
happening. Well, no, if it was done a couple years ago, it would prevent future problems like this
Correct.
happening, but it would not have prevented this.
Exactly. And for some reason, nobody seemed to think it was necessary, so.
So would this be an insurance thing? We need to call our insurance company.
I think we could turn it into our insurance, see what they say.
I think you should.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
You want me to do that? I can do that tomorrow.
it should be covered, I'm thinking under E&O, if nothing else.
and so you know what has to be done, Mike?
Yes, and I mean, I've not done this before, but I've talked to previous sextons, I've talked to the vault company,
As I say, we went to South Haven Funeral Home again.
yeah, I've talked to Bill Brandt,
Okay.
and I'm extremely confident that all of us together can get it done.
Okay,
Can you help me out a little bit here under, with the notification, the email? I was, unless I misread this, I thought it was said that the funeral home had given this other plot to your family. Is it,
I didn't know if the township or who gave it to us,
okay,
but that was that, we'll give you an extra lot over
oh,
here.
okay, okay.
I want my mom and dad's, because they picked their own headstone out before they died.
Yeah.
I want them buried in front of the headstone, not my brother.
Yeah.
You know, the joke with the family is my brother came between them again. So we want to make it right with their headstone, and that's all we're asking, you know, they're buried side by side the way they want it to be, and the headstone to match up. Right now, the headstone's over here with my mom, and my dad's supposed to be over here, and he's way over here.
Yeah.
And
I
I
understand.
other people say, can you get another headstone? It ain't the one they picked.
Right.
no, that makes sense.
Yep. So,
Who's Amanda?
I mean,
And you're Roger's son.
I'm his son, yeah.
Very sorry for this happening.
Thank you.
I did have a question. I feel like in reading the email and your proposed solution is very generous on your part. I just wanted to make sure, because it looks like the original plan was to have your mom be in between your dad and brother. We don't have a way to do that, Michael?
To do what's that?
Marlene was supposed to be in the middle. It was supposed to be Roger Senior. Marlene was supposed to be next to her son.
Yes,
But I was willing to,
I understand, and I feel that's
I
generous of
didn't
you, I
want to
just,
upset the other family. It was in 2005, we were told that they were buried.
okay.
And I thought it'd be just easier to move her to the other side. and I-
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the layout of what things are, and I just wanted to make sure if there was any way we could make your original wishes happen,
Okay,
but
well,
I don't
If you
know.
guys want to.
I don't know, it might not
Has
be
to be extra
possible.
money, yeah. I don't even know if there's an
It would
extra
be-
line.
It wouldn't be too much more difficult for me, but it might be more difficult for the vault guy moving multiple vaults.
And then they gotta have an extra vault there in case one breaks when they pull it up.
Well, and I understand, but if you're, would be satisfied with what you're proposing, and it's the easiest way to do it.
I'd have to talk to the rest of the family. I don't know how you guys do it.
I mean, if they can make it work the original way, that's ultimately the best, but.
I'm fine.
I mean,
I think
also,
Paul's fine with,
Well,
I just want my mom and dad side by side.
let me maybe throw this out. When we talk with the insurance company, it's gonna be a little bit of time for that to come back to us. I mean,
Right.
you can expedite it, but that way give us a little bit more time to talk about it and you discuss it with your family and see if we can make this gel for you.
Right.
Would that be acceptable?
I also don't wanna string it out though, like if you, I imagine
Yeah, I
you would
don't
want
wanna
closure
strung
to
out.
this,
I
Oh,
yeah.
right.
Yeah, whatever you guys come up with, I at least want it, or her move to the other
Sure,
side, so the
sure.
headstone matches up. If you
Okay,
guys are willing to do the other, that'd be good too, but it ain't
but from what you're talking about here tonight would be acceptable to do that, at
yeah,
least
just
that.
to move her, yeah.
Okay.
So then the headstone would have the correct.
Yeah,
Right.
that's my,
Okay.
because they picked their own headstone.
Sure, sure,
I
sure,
don't want a different one put in front of them or.
right.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I was just making sure she would be under her name, he would be under his name.
Yeah,
We moved
yeah,
her.
we'll work that way.
Okay,
Okay, yep, we'll call the insurance company and we'll let you know.
yeah.
All right, would you guys contact us then, or? Or should we come back to another meeting?
Give me your email address. I can, give you the same information I give the,
Okay,
you already emailed me, right?
yeah, she.
I got your email.
Yeah, we got it.
I got your email address.
We
We
have
don't
that.
need it going.
No,
across.
I plan on doing this tomorrow, contact them tomorrow. I'll make a
Right.
phone call to them. Then I'll follow up with an email with a description, sending your letters, sending all the bills and everything over to him. And, we'll get it moving.
Yeah, I was gonna say, my son and them did grades in Allegheny County and their boss works with the township and stuff, and he says they're all insured for that.
Okay, I'm gonna need a motion to submit to the insurance carrier.
I'll make the motion.
Jason made the motion. Can I get a second?
Second,
Gary seconded it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all ayes carry. Any nays? No nays? Gary, you said something about map solar, cemetery. You want me to put that on the agenda for next month?
I sure would like it.
We need a quote for it.
Right. Meanwhile, I'll see if I.
You got a name? Little company or a couple of
I
them?
wanna say it's CISN or something, it's,
You wanna email it to me? I'll make a contact with them. I got the dimensions of the cemetery and everything.
sure,
You can probably find it if you need it. You can probably find it in your email.
yeah.
So can I ask a question? So we can assume that it's going to be taken care of, whether it's this way or that way, it will be done.
One way or another.
It'll have to come back to the board if it's not covered by insurance, though.
I was gonna ask that, like, is there a way? We should take care of this no matter what the insurance company says.
Yeah.
So would it be prudent to approve an expenditure either way, and then the insurance company can just reimburse us, or I just don't want this to be strung out.
I
at
would
all.
actually rather you find out the insurance company first, because then we don't have to deal with the ordinance language, because I think you might need to update your ordinance to provide for that, which is easy to do. Because it's not a zoning ordinance, so you can do it at a board meeting.
Okay.
But right now, the ordinance is more limited in what you can do, so if the insurance takes care of it, that's the cleanest and easiest way to deal with it. So I think that would be the best way.
The quickest way right now would be insurance company and then we can change any language in the ordinance
Right.
later.
Right.
We want to get this finished.
But does that require us to wait till the next meeting then, or a special meeting once we hear back from the insurance company?
If the insurance, I mean, yes, if the insurance denies it, I don't know if it's
Did
going
you
to
get
deny
this
it or not.
from actually the cemetery?
I know when there's been, not that this is that, but I've defended cemetery lawsuits involving things like this, and it's always covered by insurance.
Yeah.
So I'm optimistic.
So if the insurance covers it, we can move forward.
Yeah, if insurance covers it. What I'm saying is if insurance denies the claim, then the board would need to take further action. And that may involve amending your cemetery ordinance.
Well, moving on.
Did you get your question answered?
Yeah, I'm just wondering now, like, if it's denied by the insurance, like, what's the next steps?
Then the board will meet about it again.
Yeah, but
What
I'm,
would be discussed, like?
The board paying for it just out of the general taxpayer money.
yeah,
And what if that's denied?
A lot of hyperbole, so.
I didn't hear what you said.
We're planning on helping take care of this and making sure it's right. We can't say anything until we talk to our insurance company.
Right.
And then we can go from there.
Pretty much.
The insurance-
Take care of it one way or another.
there's always an,
We have to go in a
clause
certain
in the insurance.
Yeah, I just want them taken care of the easiest way without,
Quickest way, right.
yeah, trying to go lawyers and everything
No.
else. I'd rather just have it taken care of the easiest way and have it done.
Correct.
Three.
State of Michigan Bureau of Construction Codes are changing. Right now they're 2015 and they're gonna go to the 2021 International Building Code. And that's going to change some of our, zoning stuff on April 22nd, 2025.
So,
So normally what we do is we approve going to the 2021 construction code.
correct. And, I have had a total cost here for the upgraded rules of $300, not quite 300. For the whole, for the ICC cost for 169, and then the building codes for 91, and then the rehab codes for 36. You add that together, and that doesn't quite come to $300, 290 something. So if we're gonna do this, we should get the whole ball of wax.
Yeah.
So I would,
How much was that total cost?
not to exceed $300.
No.
I don't know if there's tax on that or whatever, but
We just need one set.
I would think so.
That should exceed 350 in case we have tax. What do you think?
Not to exceed 350, in case there's tax or whatever, I don't know.
Shipping?
Shipping, who knows?
And then our building inspector would actually be the one enforcing, right?
Right.
But the planning commission would do so.
Well, the planning,
It would be
as far as zoning, the plan, yeah.
I'm sure the building inspector has his own.
Can I get a motion to approve, the 2021 state construction codes and, purchase of, the codes not to exceed $300,
350.
350.
$350. That was sort of moved by Gary. Do I have a second?
Second it.
Mary seconded. This is money. Gary,
Yeah.
Mary,
Yes.
Ken, yes. Jason,
Yes.
Jason, yes. Walter DeVisser Jr. would like to be considered as Columbia Township Mechanical Inspector. He says he has time to do that. He sent us his resume. Right now, we're using the state of Michigan, and we would have to file some paperwork to, make him our, mechanical inspector.
Okay, I called Tasha, talked to her about it.
Yes, you can.
I already did. And I already called Mr. Visser or DeVisser and I talked with him about it.
Yep.
And, the state of Michigan has already, for those who don't know, Norm Klug, retired. And that's why we didn't have a state inspector. Well, since it was the state originally, the state has already assigned us a replacement. I talked with Adam there at state level. And the new person is just finishing up training and has already been assigned to us. And Tasha said since the state was original, that we should stay with the state and trying to hire our own to get away from the state is nearly impossible through the state. So since I've got all that information.
I disagree. I think we should hire someone local. I'm just saying.
Well,
The
the guy,
state makes it really hard.
it makes
to
it
do
hard
that.
to get it done, and the state inspector that's assigned to us is already assigned, already is gonna do
Yeah.
Kalamazoo, and so he is
His
kind of
ears are
like,
so wet and he needs training, so I would say let's go for somebody that's experienced and local. That's just my opinion.
okay,
And I guess we're probably not supposed to discuss this till we make a motion, but. That's my opinion. It's your opinion.
well,
You talked to Tasha.
Jason, you got an opinion?
based on my information.
He did come in, he was a nice man, and it was nice that,
Oh, yeah.
I don't like the whole state monitoring everything that we do. I'd like more local people around us.
Is there a cost difference?
No, I think it's the same rate. They got a set rate that they can only charge. I think we get a 10% off this one, all right?
Oh, yeah, just like before.
Yeah.
My only comment and what I talked to these people and along with Tasha. And she said it's a real pain to try to get away from the state and have your own inspector.
I wonder what
I
that
like a
means.
good challenge.
I don't know, but she said it's,
I do remember this coming up years
Yeah.
ago, and it might have been when we started with the state to begin with, or we might have been thinking about switching to the electrical inspector at the state. So this did come up before, that it's almost like you're captured once you go to the state, they won't. like-
That makes me even more not want them.
Well, right, I hear what you're saying.
I mean, I don't have a problem with having somebody local myself. And when I talked to Walt,
Yeah, he's nice
I
guy.
thought it was great, but then I talked to Tasha and
So Mary's gonna do the paperwork.
I'm gonna, I'll go after, I'll go with the state, no problem. I will make a motion. To
To-
accept Walter DeVisser as our mechanical inspector.
Do we have a second? I'll second it. Roll call vote, Mary,
Yes.
Kenzie, yes. Gary,
come back to me,
pardon,
come back to me.
Jason,
Mary, you're okay with spearheading the efforts to detach from the state?
I have no problem going head to head with the state.
I'm a yes.
Gary,
Yes,
It's welcome to me on every level, Jason.
No, I
You know, that
I
they-
agree.
that
I
they
don't
feel
like
they
it.
can
I
control
don't like
us
being
that.
in jail with anybody. We can hire whoever we want.
And we should have local people, you know, that know the
Like
area.
Renewable energy, sometimes they tell you what you're gonna do.
Same thing.
well, I will tell you that Walt does have Bangor Township, he's got Bloomingdale Township, he's
He's around here.
and he lives in Bangor.
It's
I
great.
think I think it'll be good, and No problem with the state, no problem. On J5. I would like,
Phones?
what's that? We
On
don't need
phones?
new phones.
Huh?
We're not spending $2,000 on new phones. They went out one time, we got them fixed, they're fine. We don't need new phones. So I'll make a motion that we do not get new phones.
Second.
Motion by Mary, second by Gary, not to go forward with estimates for new office phones.
I don't work in the office and I don't use the phone, so I feel
We don't-
woefully uneducated on this
Yeah.
matter.
He wants.
Why
to
was
put
this even a
The
thing?
phones went out one day because we had the storm
Oh,
and he has to like reboot them or something, but
Okay.
he's not saying we should, he's just saying we could put everything on Wi-Fi. My problem is what if Wi-Fi goes out? There's no problems with the phones, you know,
we go ham radio, right?
that's right.
Okay, we got a motion and a second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's just, we don't need to spend $2,000.
Did you get the
Take your word for it.
wording there?
Yep.
Okay, here we need to consider, for approval, the Michigan, Earned Sick Time Act policy.
We don't have a choice, but.
Yeah.
That with you guys at the station.
So whose comments were in the?
See, I don't think that our firm did that for you guys. It says Barnum on it.
You know where that came from?
I got it.
Oh,
Yeah, 'cause
We
we,
got it.
we have an attorney in our group who's been working on ESTA policies. I shot her a text and she didn't recall.
Where'd it come from?
doing one
nope,
of these.
Barnum. She got it. She has. Yeah, they're good. I've worked with Barnum before.
Yeah. Subscribe to a ag employer.
So do we need a motion to accept the policy?
Yes,
I'll make that motion.
well, Mary made a motion to, accept the earned sick time policy. Do I have a second?
So moved. What?
Gary, all in favor, say aye.
So, hold on. Discussion now.
Yep.
So the two documents, the Columbia Township policy is just, you took the Varnum template and filled in all our pertinent information. So those documents are identical
Correct.
with the exception updated for us. Okay, I just want to make sure I knew what I was looking at.
Yeah.
This is another state of Michigan that we don't have a choice in.
Oh, I know. I just wanted to make sure I understood what documents we were looking at. Okay,
We have a local
One for
inspector.
template.
okay. That's all I needed to know.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, ayes carried. Transfer station, compactor is making a loud noise around the motor. Might be a bearing, might not be a bearing. Might be some other piece of equipment. I, called, Best Way to find out who the, repair person is that they use since both of ours retired. And, they're gonna go out and take a look at that and give me information after they did the PM. So I don't know anything about, major repairs that we might have to do.
So this Seabright is what Best Way uses now because their in-house person retired? Is that what you're saying?
No, the people that we used before, were out of Kalamazoo.
Okay,
And they're no longer in business. Both of them retired that worked out of there. So I called Best Way because they have a lot of these out there and they gave me a name of two people that do the, and only one was interested.
okay. Cause that was gonna be my next question. We only have one quote here and this is for a diagnostic actually, right?
Well, they're actually gonna do the PM. They said they had a copy of our stuff somehow. They must have got the Kalamazoo stuff because they told me when they last time it was looked at. And then they told me that they were going to, they should be doing a PM every year. We budget for it every year.
Okay, what's PM?
Preventative maintenance.
Okay, that's what I thought, but
Preventative maintenance, and with that, they do an inspection to make everything is operating. They got a checklist they go
yeah,
through.
okay. So this $400 that we're paying for is just for the preliminary, and then when they find out what we need or what we don't need, they're gonna submit
Yeah.
another invoice
Yeah.
or billing or,
And we have $2,000 in the budget for
Yeah.
the maintenance to
yeah,
it.
we have that in there, okay,
Yep,
okay.
and if it's over our budget, I'll be back to the board.
So do we need a motion? Or do we have a certain amount that we could do?
Well, I was hoping that we'd have something to go beyond this, the maintenance. But I wanted everyone to know I went out and authorized them to do that. And I think I sent everyone an email what the problem was.
Well, since it's already in a budget, I think all we have to do is approve this, then have them do it.
If they're within the budget, yeah.
Well,
I don't think I
So we
need
can-
any approval to do that, right?
Or can we make a
Yeah.
motion when the approval, when it comes in? Or can we
Basically,
not?
this is information to let you know what's going on.
right,
We don't need to take any action.
right.
So when do we have to ask if it's in the budget? What is the limit? So if.
Well,
the
we have
repair
something that
is
says if it's over
$19.99
$500, we should, get quotes. You should
Right.
get more than one bid. And that's about what we have, that we do.
But when does the board have to approve the repair? So I'm saying if the repair comes in at 19.99, should we do
You can
Well,
always
should
have,
we make a
If
motion
it,
that
if
we
it
can?
comes in at a high rate, I'm not gonna make anything over $500 decision. I think I'm allowed to make over 20,000. I think we
there's a-
have a,
well, we have,
thing how
that's
how
right,
much somebody
That's
can
right.
authorize,
that's right.
Okay,
but it's gotta be something urgent for me to authorize.
well, I would think this would be urgent. I mean, for the
think this
trash.
required
compactor.
action.
So what I'm
Well, it must
asking,
not require action because I'm pretty sure they had to do the inspection because it said they're gonna get out there within the 2 days by Friday.
but when they give us the repair bill, if it's before a month from now, should we make a motion to approve up to the budget amount so it can just be done?
I think I got the authority to do that.
Okay, then that's all I'm
But
asking.
like I said, if I go do something, I'm probably gonna send an email to somebody to let them know
Well, you
what
can-
happened, the
Yeah, you
damage.
can send it to me. I'm just saying I would like it fixed because I like to take my trash out there. Will get caught if I drop it by the road.
What do you think?
On which part of that?
Well, we have a budget
It was
of
busy.
$2,000 for expenditure on repairs and maintenance to that trash compactor.
Wow.
Do we need to vote to spend that full 200,000 or 100,000?
Do you have any written policies related to that? Like you said, you can spend up to 20,000. Is that you have a purchasing policy that says that?
There's a
Okay.
purchasing
Yeah.
policy
So
that,
does your policy, I don't know if I have your policy. Does your policy address this question at all?
Probably.
Yeah, I could get you a copy of that. You probably should have that.
I wouldn't mind an extra copy too, because I'm sure I have it somewhere safe. Alrighty,
Okay, did we finish that?
yep, we're done.
Public comment?
Anybody else?
Just you, Karen, you go, girl.
Okay, a PS to something earlier, noticed on supervisor's report regarding the emergency services, and you quote in there about the year of the SAD, the amounts that change. So I'm just, from what my record showed, the fire department SAD began as very distinct from an ambulance service that ended in 2009. I'm not sure what year the SAD mill became 2.0 for the fire department, but I can document at least back to 2016. And I know that the fund balance was over $500,000 as recently as 2019. Because that's what it was back when we started adding any medical services. So at the time, it looked like we had plenty in there. So you had a different year in your report of when it was 2.0 mills.
2014, wasn't it? If I remember right.
I think, well,
It was right after they got done with buying the tanker.
whatever, I was just letting you know that there was at least one thing in your report that was not factually correct, so I thought you should know.
I was off by a year or two.
Or 4 or 6 or 9, something like that. And in reference to the PC appointments, when you guys were on that and whether or not you should do it with or not advertising or whatever, which I personally think it's a good idea. And it's not on the website that I can see. It used to be a big deal to have a farmer on there. Now, I didn't hear any comments about we needed somebody to be a farmer on this. And I know that that's part of why Jennifer was put forth before. So is that no longer a concern?
No, it's very much a concern. I think Kate has got a good part of that because she's got the medical marijuana growth and she also grows what's, what do they call it over there with the, she's tied to that natural,
Oh, she does a natural meadow.
yeah,
every
natural
year,
metal
a
type
natural
stuff.
meadow.
Well, I'm just
It's
saying.
not the type of farming I want, but it's
No,
closer.
I don't think you could say she's representing farmers in the community or Jay, so I'm just.
I
bringing
can't
it
say
up.
she's going to go out and get us grants. I can say she's gonna work on the CIP. I can say that she worked on doing a recreational park out here. I could say that she almost got us grant money of $500,000 with that.
I'm not criticizing Kate
And
whatsoever.
well,
I'm just saying there seemed to be a total absence of a criteria that you used to say.
she's a
was
retired
farmer.
lawyer. Keep us out of trouble or keep me out of trouble.
And I'm just trying to keep you consistent.
Consistently out of trouble. Or in.
Consistent on what you say is important and how we move forward. And another question I had. You guys wanted a legal opinion from Foster Swift, about a couple of things, and one was whether or not the board could assume the role of the planning commission, which I doubt is possible,
No.
but was that answered?
I don't know if I did a written opinion, but no, I can't.
Okay, it didn't seem like it at the time anyway, so I just never saw an answer. And you guys do have the transfer station in here for the preventive maintenance and just. I understand Butch isn't gonna be here by next winter, and I just hope we don't wait until Thanksgiving to have a new building or whatever, because his trailer's got to go in that process.
I have talked to Best Way about taking over the transfer station.
Hmm.
They're supposed to give me what it would cost us. They normally don't do it with a cost. They do it by collecting the revenue out there.
Oh, so that would be dump tickets? They just handle, we wouldn't have dump tickets anymore? So would this still be considered a township service?
They would take over everything. They do it already for, I believe it was Arlington and,
So we wouldn't need a building, is that what you're saying?
no, they'll take care of whatever they need out there to do the job. I also talked to them about, renewable. And they were
Recycling?
recycling, they've set up. But he's supposed to give me a quote. I haven't got it yet. I will probably contact him tomorrow.
And they'd still use the compactor?
I don't
That
know.
makes a difference
I
on
don't
how
know
much
what,
you spend on fixing it, that's just.
if they take-
I don't know if they'll use the compactor or have their own compactor. They might just have a garbage truck there just pounding it away.
I have a quick comment. My workplace, we recently, I forget what the old vendor was and the new vendor, but for our recycling, for our carton scrap. We just changed, companies doing that, and we have the same compactor. They just the name on the bin changed and the name on the trucks changed. The compactor's the same.
I would think if they took it over, whatever was there usable, it'd stay until something happened and they had to remove it.
Yep. But they provide a body to be there. They will
Yeah,
meet our schedule, what day we want. But I haven't got the quote yet. But I will bug them. Any other comments?
Two things real quick. The budget's set in stone. Did that go through while I was gone on vacation? The budget's been approved for this next year.
Yes,
Cool. And am I supposed to still be working on options for financing the truck? Financing the, mini.
I don't think so.
Okay. So I'm not supposed to be working on that at all, just throw a lot away. Start again?
At this point, I guess there's no funds to do it. So we're gonna wait and see what,
That always works. Wait and see, it's always good.
well, we'll have to baby it for a while.
Wait and see is always good. I'll send Jason in.
What?
I'll send you in, that way I don't have to worry about dying. That's it.
Well, we have any correspondence? Board member comments? Gary?
I do have a comment. And, my board comment is not a reflection of any other board, members of the board, but I think it's important for the taxpayers to be aware of the procedure followed, and how the current ex officio member of the PC was appointed, along with, why I voted against the appointment. Here's a quick history. I believe accurate. Description of the process was the past ex officio replaced one that resigned due to health issues. The supervisor's agenda supported an appointment for the new ex officio at the next township meeting. The board appointed supported the agenda, and an ex officio was appointed to fill in the vacancy for the remainder of the term, approximately a year, and the supervisor was absent at that meeting. The term of the ex officio expired and the seat was vacant. The expired ex officio was elected to serve on the township board as trustee. MTA, Foster Swift, PC attorney at the time, all agreed that the ex officio position would be a holdover as long as the person was still on the township board until the supervisor reappointed someone. I believe that common sense would dictate the reappointment of the same person, as they already held the position and was working with the PC. For some reason, supervisor refused to appoint the board member back to the PC as ex officio. Supervisor appointed himself at the next board meeting. There was no second for the appointment, so it's still vacant. Supervisor still refused to reappoint the holdover person. The supervisor appointed himself again at the next board meeting. There was a second vote. There was a second and a vote of 3 for and 2 against. The vote passed. Supervisor appointed himself as ex officio of the PC. Now, the reason I voted no is because of what Frank Kelly, the Attorney General's opinion was. Opinion number 6834. For self-appointing the township supervisor as a member of the township planning commission. All members of the planning commission shall be appointed to the township by the supervisor with approval of the township board. Members may be removed by the township supervisor after a hearing with the approval of the township board. Research has failed to disclose any Michigan appellate court decision defining the term of the planning commission supervisor under the section. At a common law, public officer with power of appointment were disqualified from appointing themselves to a public office. In addition to the common law, the Michigan legislation has passed a statute prohibiting the holding of 2 or more incompatible public offices. It was a Public Act 566 of 1978. Under that statute, 2 public offices are incompatible when holding 2 offices simultaneously, resulting in the subordination or supervision of one or public offices by another. One public office is subordinate to another and subject to supervision by another when the incumbent in the one public office has the power of appointment or removal of the other public office. In light of the common law rule against self-appointment to public office and the provisions of Michigan incompatibility statute that prohibit a person from holding 2 public offices when the one public office has the power of an appointment or the removal of another public office. it must be concluded that the legislature does not intend in section 4 of the Public Act to authorize the township supervisor to appoint himself or herself to the Township Planning Commission. Frank Kelly, who is the Attorney General, says it's his opinion, therefore, that a township supervisor may not appoint himself or herself as a member of the Township Planning Commission. Also, MTA supports that, saying that because of the Michigan Enabling Act gives the supervisor, deputy sheriff appointment authority over the planning commission, still subject to the approval of the board. The supervisor or deputy supervisor cannot be the board's, township board's member ex officio member on the planning commission. It's a conflict of interest. It has to do also with, the appearance of a supervisor at a PC meeting in having undue influence upon a planning commission member to decide a matter a certain way. Michigan courts have held that the supervisor's presence at the planning commission meeting may give a rise to undue influence, which may cause the basis of an aggrieved party to challenge the decision of the planning commission in circuit court. So that's my reasoning, and that's why I voted no. And that's my last of my comment.
Laura, would you like to respond to that?
Frankly, I've already given a written legal opinion. I don't think we need to debate it. It's a privileged legal opinion. The board has my opinion.
That was a confidential opinion, right?
Correct.
Do you guys want to go into a closed session to discuss that opinion that you previously gave us?
I don't think it's necessary unless there is some legal action that's brought before the board because of maybe an omission or a complaint.
Well, all I can say is that you need to go to Public Act, the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act, Michigan Planning Enabling Act of 2008. And in that, it's going to tell you that one of the members of the township board can be placed on the planning commission.
Yeah.
And I am one member of the township board. Also, I don't put somebody on the planning commission, the township board does. I only make a recommendation. And that's really your bottom line answer. Now, you can spread these out all over. You could tell everybody I'm not allowed to be on there. But legally, I can. Because if legally I couldn't, I wouldn't be. And legally, she would be not allowing me to do that.
I didn't say it wasn't illegal. I said it's highly improbable.
Okay, well, so you think it's highly improbable. There's a lot of things I think you do that are highly improbable too, but I just live with them. So live with it.
Is it my turn?
Yep.
Did you finish? I have two things. First of all, I just wanted everyone to know I did start the investment that we talked about, investing funds. I'm going to class to find out exactly how and I mean, I have it under our investment policy and all that. But I just put 200 in there and in a week, it made $169. So I think I want to find out exactly the perimeters around that and how much we can invest, and hopefully we can make some money on that.
What type of investment is it?
They're the ones that are allowed by our investment policy, and there's only certain things that can be done with municipalities.
Right.
So.
Okay.
The other thing so Jeremy didn't give us a blight report. As a citizen and a board member, I don't like the amount of money that I'm paying just to give tickets to our citizens. I mean, I think is that all do we not have anything else that needs to be done? I didn't like, that we're just having all this excess. I mean, I like police around here, but just giving tickets is not what we're paying $8,000 a month for. So I don't know who's in charge of that.
I'm gonna have a sit down talk with Jeremy and Dan, the sheriff. and tell them what I expect and what should be done. And, if, Jeremy, I know Dan will.
I just don't think that's what the citizens are, the taxpayers aren't paying to
Correct.
get tickets, the
Correct.
taxpayers are
Correct.
paying to get the blight taken care of and
Correct.
other things.
And if Jeremy's not the right, officer for the job, then we'll get a different officer.
No, I don't think it's about Jeremy personally. I just think that the expectation, he just needs to know that we need that and then,
Yeah, exactly.
but he also needs guidance. You know, I'm sure you tell him where to go and he's driving around.
Yeah.
So I don't know, it's
There's no
just,
reason, there's no reason when he's patrolling 1,400 miles a month,
yeah, we paid a lot in mileage.
that you can't stop at somebody's house that's got blight and check on them every week or every 2 weeks and see how the progress is.
And I
know
think we
for
have a
fact.
spreadsheet, so we can do that. My only
Well-
opinion as a board member and a taxpayer is I don't wanna pay $8,000 a month to get tickets in my township.
Right, I agree.
So I'm finished, that's all for me.
Well, crime is down since we've had a police, so I mean, it's like night and day from the old
It
days.
is, I'm not saying it's, I'm not
He
saying
does-
that, I just,
He's valuable,
the only thing I heard
but
was,
I do think we got a lot of dangerous buildings out there, roofs falling in. We
but
got
I
a
don't
lot
think
of
he's,
blight.
but somebody's gotta guide him and tell him what we need.
Yeah,
Because, yeah, there's a building with the roof falling in. There's some other things, but I don't think it's fair to expect him to just know what those are. But I don't want, yeah,
Jason?
I wanted to dish out some thanks. I was gonna say thank you to Jay for his interest in the planning commission, but he left. I was also gonna say thank you to the Templetons for their gracious way that they handled a very large error on the township's part. Thank you to Mr. Harris for coming to almost every meeting. Thank you to Laura for driving down. Karen and Jason for your public comments. Michael for stepping into a messy situation and being willing to help us troubleshoot that. Chief for battling illegal fires and whatever else you do all the time for us. And thank you to fellow board members for serving.
Yeah, I don't have any comments. We're gonna adjourn the meeting at 9:10.
The list is.
yes, so that investor.
Did you send
Municipal bonds, you think?
I just did a quick email search, but the only legal opinion I saw was on Jennifer.
Yeah, that's all.
Deputy clerk for that. Was that a separate opinion? Yes.
That's it's recent.
Okay, maybe I just didn't. Far enough.
Might be-
Okay.
In fact, I'm pretty sure, because I remember, talking about distribution and he said he had already sent it out.
Okay. This, my township. Gets inundated with junk. I have a hard time finding correct emails.
If you cannot find it, let me know.
Okay.
Resend it to you.
Yes, sir.
And then, so wait.
Thank you.
Oh.